Good morning, guys. Happy Monday. So, we are back at it again with some more learning this week, and we're continuing on with our silent E. So, this week we're going to be doing long U words, and so that would be a word like tube, Tube, right? So, that E at the end of tube makes the U say its name instead of its sound. And you guys have been doing a really good job with those activities and being able to tell when you need to say the short sound or when you need to say the long sound. So we're going to keep practicing with that. You're going to do your show and tell on a word that either starts with or has the long U in the middle of the word. And for this week for math, we are moving on from teen numbers and we're going into shapes. So we're going to be creating things with shapes. So making different shapes out of more than one shape. So your activity today, you're going to get to do that. You're going to get to use a cool website where you'll have all these shapes to choose from and you can click and drag them over and create a different shape. So that'll be a lot of fun. And for science, you guys are going to be reading the story The Very Hungry Caterpillar, because this week we're learning about how caterpillars go through a life cycle and they change into a butterfly, which is an insect, right? That we learned about last week. So let's look at our wonder story today and where our long U words are. So we have a picture here of a ruler. So it has that U in the middle of ruler. Then this kind of looks like a horse, but it's actually a cross between a horse and a donkey. Does anybody know what that animal is called? It's called a mule. A mule is a cross between a horse and a donkey. And then we have here, it's a musical instrument and it has little holes in the inside part of it and it makes a really nice high-pitched sound. It's called a flute. So a flute has that long U sound. And then going with music, we have music notes, so music notes. Then we have a tube of toothpaste, it looks like. And we have a cube of ice. So those are all long U words. Now let's sound these ones out. So they all have that bossy E or silent E or magic E at the end. So we know that that U is going to say U and not like it normally does. So here we have use, ool, rule, cute, cute, ood, rude, or actually I should say you'd. So it kind of is a tricky one here because you're not really saying you, you're saying more of an ooh. So if I say you'd, that doesn't make sense. So I have to kind of think, okay, what word could that be? Ood, rude, oob, tube. That does the same thing for tube. Cube, cube, like the ice cube that's up here in our picture. Now we do have two new sight words this week. Ooh, it's another question word, who. So think about how the WH says wh, and then this O is going to say an ooh. So who, and then we have good, good. So who and good. And we know that when we see those WH words, that it's going to be a question sentence. So let's see what these kids are doing in the picture. Looks like they're painting. So let's see what the sentence is going to tell us about the picture. Who can use the paint? So the question is, who can use the paint? And then this picture down here, it looks like a little boy with maybe his dad, and they're playing chess together. And it looks like somebody did a good job and they're giving each other a high five. So let's read that sentence together and see what it says. You did a good job. So we were right. They were giving each other a high five for doing a good job playing chess together. Okay, so we are going to talk a little bit about shapes, since I told you we're going to be learning about how we can put shapes together to make different shapes. So let me get my board ready here. I forgot to erase it. So if I have a triangle, say, I have one triangle all by itself, I can compose, which is just a big word for like create or make, a different shape by adding another shape to this triangle. So if I add another triangle, but this time I did it like an upside down triangle, it looks like a different shape, doesn't it? It looks like a rhombus because it has those kind of like that diamond kind of shape, like a rhombus. Now, what if I were to take a square? So I have one square all by itself, and I'm going to add another square next to it. What shape did I make with two squares put together? I made a rectangle. So you can put shapes together or compose shapes, or you could take shapes apart or decompose shapes to make new ones. So if I already had these two squares together to make a rectangle, I could say, I'm going to take this square away, and now I have a square just by itself, right? So there's lots of different ways that you could create new shapes by either adding or taking shapes away. So you guys are going to get to work on that today with your math activity, like I said earlier. And I want us to practice a couple of our long U words, because like we saw in the Wonder Story, they can be a little bit tricky sometimes. So if you say that U sound like in this word that was in the story, rude, this U, if I say the U, you'd, it's harder for me to sound out, right? I can't really sound that out. So ood, rude. So if the sentence or if the word is not making sense when you're going to sound it out, you might have to try it a couple of times. And you guys have been doing a really good job with that, especially on your leveled readers. I've noticed a lot of you stopping and saying in your head, I can tell you're thinking, that didn't make sense, so I'm going to try it again. And that's a big part of reading, especially with the English language, because it's very tricky. Even though we say this is a rule like silent E, it doesn't always follow the rules. So like we've talked about in the past, we've got to use those context clues, and we've just got to kind of use our brain and think about, how should this word really sound? Let's try. Let's see. Oops, I wrote it wrong. Let me try it again. So this was one of the pictures in our story, or on our Wonders book. So flute, flute. Now when I say the word flute, this doesn't really say U, it says more of an oo, flute. But when I sound it out, I could tell that that was the word, right? Flute. I could tell that it's flute. Now let's see, how about this one? Doesn't end with a bossy E, but it has an E in here that makes this U still say its name. So wool, Now these two together, the ER says So you'll, ruler. So this is another one that this U is saying more of an oo sound. So you might have to switch those back and forth to see which sound it's supposed to be. Now this is where those tricky words come in, right? So we just have to really, really concentrate when we're saying these long U ones, because they may be a little bit tricky for us. All right, guys, I hope you had a wonderful weekend, and I cannot wait to see you guys at 11:30 for our Zoom call. Bye, guys.